Definitely want to get this sorted before we go live.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, right.
Yep. Can you hear us?
Just.
I don't think Helen can hear us.
No, Helen can't hear. You're on mute, Helen. She's pushed on. This systems a fantastic web network. Yeah. She's got to undo a mute button. She can only do what you.
I think I might be able to unmute now that she wants to as the host, but I could be wrong on that. Just maybe it's just Teams.
On mute, but
There we are.
Okay, yeah. You hear us?
afternoon, just got no sound coming from you guys.
No.
I presume it's not quiet in your room. Where's my?
Not really.
Well,
What's that? Can everyone hear everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yep.
Oh, thanks, Joe. Sorry, I had absolutely no sound from you guys. Thank you. I had to
Can you
call.
hear us now, Helen?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much. Thanks, Joe, for that. Appreciate it.
guys.
You hear us, Carl?
Yep, I'm good. Should be able to.
Yeah. Nice to hear, Carl.
And I think last time we didn't have this.
We've got a forum.
Yeah, it's good. Cool.
Well,
Okay, is my sound coming through okay for you guys then?
all good? Yeah, it is.
That's good. Cool.
Sorry, Peter would like to. Is it you live?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, we're live. Okay, welcome everybody and welcome to those online. It's good to see good muster there. To this Regional Transport Committee meeting. It's probably appropriate to have this one after we had one in Christchurch on the Monday. So we're doing it fresh in our minds. And
I definitely did that on purpose.
welcome to James. I appreciate James coming over too to participate. It makes all the difference when you're here in person. Okay, we'll go through. Is there any apologies?
Apologies from me.
Money, that's fine.
And apologies from Councillor Burden.
None of us, that it? All good? Have a move and then please for apologies. And James. Thank you, Councillor Gibson. All those in favour? Any declarations of interest? Public forums, petitions, invitations, no, late items, no. So we'll go to the minutes of the last meeting, please. Well, that was back in December the 4th. My wedding anniversary, excellent. That's easy to remember. No. So we'll just get a. Alright, I've got Judy.
Hello.
Judy? No problem.
Just on the minutes, there's a correction just on Lynette Burns' spelling of her name in the minutes. It was just a editing one, not a comment, point one.
Did you just put that again, please, Helen?
Just the spelling of Lynette Byrne, who presented.
Oh, yeah, right.
For the spelling of her name's incorrect. That's all. That was the only thing, only issue I had in the minutes.
Cool. We'll get that fixed.
Kristen or the Sino?
Stunning.
Sino, right.
Well spotted. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's no further corrections. We've got any matters arising from those minutes?
So we had a handful of action points, and they have all been, so we had 6 action points and they've all been done.
That's page 9. Yeah. All good. Thank you there, Max.
Can I ask a question? No, I was going to say done or in the progress of being done.
So some are.
So we still need to finish off getting some advertising done for Total Mobility Services. And one of the things that's been holding us up is we're a little bit wary of going out to the public before the potential cuts.
Right.
So, yeah, we're gonna be rolling out, we're gonna be doing a big PR rollout, but we'll come to that later.
Yep, discussions we're gonna have on it shortly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been party to most of this, but I had a complaint the other day about how the service was working for the elderly and blind people, saying that they seem to be last on the list of the taxi services, and it come from Bill Drake of all people, because he's declared blind, and was saying that a lot of people don't really want to use it because they sort of too late to get there, too long or whatever. So I just wondered, I see on an action point, you're talking to the Premier taxis, and I wonder if that's what it was about.
So that was the shuttle service. So that was a slightly separate discussion about connections between Hokitika and Weymouth.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a bit concerning to hear that feedback. So I'm quite happy for you.
They come to me because they
Yeah.
feel it's a Grey District Council running it.
Yeah,
And I says, of all things, I've got to go to a meeting, so I'll pass it on. I had never heard it before, but it was
Yeah.
from Premier pensioners, you know, and
Right.
I'm quite concerned that if they rang up, they sort of got left out.
Okay, I'm really sorry to hear that. And what we'll do is we're happy to follow up with you separately.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. The fellow's named Bill Drake, and you'd know who he was, Pete.
Believe that view then, Max. So there's two different issues, one's mobility and one's.
So that was it was two slightly separate issues, and that also slightly follows on from some of the feedback we had in the community meeting we had with Mayor Lash. I think it was a month or two ago, when there's also one or two little black spots in terms of services as well. But that was more to do with vehicle accessibility. So there's still a lot of things to improve in terms of capability, but I'm happy to follow up with that.
Oh, that's good, thank you.
Okay. I might take advantage of the situation on Monday when we went to Christchurch, because a lot of those things that were mentioned over there, they relate to some of these agenda items, and it might just short circuit some discussion if I give a bit of a background to what was discussed over there, and any questions from the floor, we can answer those that come up. Yeah, me and Andy went across representing the coast on that one. It was a good meeting. Some new members from the post-election. Kate was reinstated as the chair of the group, and I found it to be one of the better ones of recent times of all the ones I've been to. There was a real focus and fixity of purpose of all the regional councils there, and a little bit of pushback on what's coming from the government. And I don't envy James's position, because a lot of their workload is down to the budgets at Wellington, and that budget reflects on what we can do in the South Island to a big extent, because the population north of the border, Cook Strait, that seems to get the swagger of most of what's available. I think if there's one message that come out when we talk to the minister, and that's James Leger, and the message that's come down from the likes of Chris Bishop and so on, and the message too from NZTA, which they're just the servants of what the budgets are given, is the pots are pretty low for any big jobs, and the steady as we go thing is not even at that stage. I think it's a situation where there's going to be some big hard decisions to be made, and I just, I'm a bit concerned of where we may end up. Maintenance to food is maintenance ballooning out in the long run, and that's a legacy of past decisions of Wellington, where they have put off spending through the NZTA to get some of these things done. The government does not have the capacity to fund flood and climate change the way they have in the last 10 years. There's no question of that. And there's going to have to be more focus on mitigation, hopefully, and that's where that word resilient comes in. If we can see something, we try and avoid the cost in the future, we can address it now. And I think that's been well explained to James. James is on to that, and I've been just about ringing them up in the sleep to remind them of a couple of things of that. I suppose locally, a big concern, certainly for Westland and the Buller, is the two roads of special purpose roads through Jackson's Bay and north to the Heafy and Karamea. That 100% funded by the government finishes next year. And that has big implications for those councils, indeed the West Coast as a whole, because I think I've read somewhere that if it was all put back onto the Buller, it's a 6% rate increase across their ratepayers. But I believe they're, potentially because of what they are, there is certainly a case for each road to maybe voice some concern and put the case again. One case, in my view, is stronger than the other. I think the Heafy's probably, the road to Kamea's got a stronger case, perhaps to be an extension of, who knows, of State Highway 6, because of the tourism, the milk flow out of there, less so for Jackson's Bay, but in Jackson's Bay's favour, it's a life link, as well as a port that's operative now for the fishing fleet. But it's a lifeline for when we have the big event we're all preparing for, we're all been told about. And I'd like to see that both councils, with in conjunction with this committee, we fully support any endeavour you would do to retain that or to put the case again to government to continue with the funding in some form. There must be a formula there somehow to keep those roads the way they are, because the cost to bear is really significant. And I'd hate to say that'd be the thin edge of the wedge, which it would be, because then you'd have contractions elsewhere in rural New Zealand and the West Coast too. And I take particular interest in one of the documents on Monday, and it was a weighting system of scores for all those areas that may be under threat at risk, and it's done by Stantec and with NZTA research project, and the list is quite important. Fortunately for my the drum that I've been beating is between Hokitika and Greymouth in the event of the earthquake and connectivity between those two centres. Within kilometres of each of them, it's 2/3 of the population of the West Coast, and it's vitally important for those connections with police headquarters, the only hospital, trucking, food, supermarkets. That is a priority. It's been vulnerable, and I noticed on the point score here, and I had no input into the list, but I was very pleased to see it. The link between Hokitika and Greymouth has the highest joint point score of vulnerability. The other part was the Goulburn Bridge, which I think we sort that out. All those high things of regional economic heavy vehicle use services, the score is the highest for that link, that 40 odd kilometre link. So that just impresses to me how vital that is. And as for the Jackson's Bay and the one to Mukunui, Karamea, they're high up there too, but for different reasons, because they're very tourist orientated, not so much the heavy traffic and service vehicles, if you follow me. But the one to Jackson's Bay has a low score in priority, but I think that should not be overlooked, the importance of the port, because port's really an extension of a highway. It's the way you get there when you can't get there when all the roads are out and the passes. The Westport to Karamea one, that's up a bit, but it's still middle of the road, because again, it's a priority one for tourism, but it's also a big priority one for the milk factory. So they'd have strong support for that. And I just have that mindset that okay, they got low scores, but they've got high importance. And regionally, they're significant, both of them.
But Pete, I think both of them are equally as important. And I mean, Jackson's Bay's got all the fish coming out there by truck, all the stock coming out there by truck. So I don't see why any district council should have to cover the costs of that. they're getting paid roadie dues and charges to go into these roads. So, Westport can't afford it, either can they?
Yeah, I think, but no argument for me. I'm just going by the stats of what the experts.
Yes, I know, but,
That's what the government's going to look at.
I think Rosalie had something to add as well.
If
Otherwise, I misinterpreted
If I can on
that.
that, on what you've said, Pete, is and thank you, Councillor Gibson, for your comments, because you know I think a lot of people think that the Jackson Bay Road starts at the turnoff to the Cascade River and Jackson Bay. It actually starts at the turnoff from the state highway. So you've got schools, you've got communities, you've got heritage, you've got the Deepwater Port. The Deepwater Port of Jackson Bay, Field and Lobster is now fully back into practice in their operations out of Jackson Bay as well, as are 6 fishing boats. So it does, and as Councillor Gibson said, you've also got the stock, which there are significant runs off that road as well. So it's a multifaceted one, and I don't really see that being any different than the SPR into Karamea. I think we've got to treat them both with the respect they deserve. And I know from our council's perspective, through Carl, we have put a submission in, and we have got a request in to further that conversation directly with NZTA on the impacts of this by rates, impact to those having to pay for it, and the risk of that road not being maintained to its current level, and what that means across the whole spectrum of what I referred to before. So to me, I don't think we can weight one against the other, because they're both multi-purpose, they're significant to their communities. And I think they deserve, an equal footing on this. I'm not saying that just because Jackson's is in my backyard. I'm very acutely aware of the relevance of the road into Karamea as well, and I've got just as much respect for that and the role that plays. But I think we should be, behind both.
Yeah, I've got no argument with that, Helen. I agree entirely. All I've done was just read off that report from the appendices with the mitigation with the network vulnerabilities. That's all I'm going on there.
Yeah.
Well done, James. Have you got any comments?
Look, I just because we're on the subject, I might as well cover it off. Look, I just want to acknowledge the receipt of the communications both from Buller District Council and Western District Council. We're committed to meeting with both, to conversations about both. It is not a question of trading off one against the other.
No.
They are entirely separate conversations. They're quite different roads. They're very important for their local communities, absolutely, and fully intend to have a fulsome and deep conversation with both councils about the costs, the future, the needs, etc. It's a really important conversation to have, and
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
I'd just like to echo Helen's words too, and we don't want to trade one off the other, but it'd be devastating for either to lose that funding. And if some gateway could be made, if special purpose roads have to go, something that will accommodate those with a different name.
Yeah. And I make a point. I just make a comment here, just encapsulating what's said here, and I'm not one to think of NZTA, it's really government's got to listen. Underinvestment in transport networks increases the risk of failure, asset failure. And that results in economic loss for the region, whether it's north or south. So that's what really we're going to focus on to shore up the argument. Hey, these need investing, they need your support, because that support is vital for our economic well-being over here on the coast and community well-being. And I think we've got to stress that, because Wellington, half of them wouldn't know where Jackson Bay was, half of them wouldn't know where Graham was or Westport was. And that's why, we've made a habit on all our submissions. We include a map of the South Island alongside the North Island, and we extend from Wellington beyond Auckland. And I'd like to see that any submissions that the district councils do, they include that map, and I'm more than happy to get Max to send that map to you, and you can download it as a PDF in your submission, because that map speaks 1,000 words, because a lot of the people, the bureaucrats in London, a lot of them probably never been to the coast. James comes here often, so we don't have to tell James. But, we've got to be convincing in our argument, and that's just another string in our bow to do so. I'd like to like that to, so other parties here are happy with that. We're more than happy to share that map, with the other district
It's
council.
already in our DMs as well, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, both them roads have been hit by the elements
Certainly.
in the last couple of years too. They don't always cost that much to maintain, do they?
No,
Like, they cost a lot after emergencies. That's the part
Yes.
of the issue, and I know it's part of the concern council said.
But they
Yeah,
will
and James-
settle down again.
if I can, James is right with that, because our particular issue with, well, NZTA's particular issue with our road is the that final piece of roading down to Jackson's Bay, which has been hit so many times with weather events. It's just been a continuous run for us lately. And without the SPR, there would be no Jackson Bay, there would be no there'd be nothing there at all. So it's significant for us, but unfortunately it's just going through its bad run at the moment of continual slips. And it's not just a 50-metre stretch of road. There's about 7, am I right, Carl? About 7 or 8 slips now along that stretch of road. And you're only talking so many Ks from Jackson Bay, and then you're good to go. But it's just an area that's just been going through its own time of continual impact, as James will be well aware.
I assume, as I don't know the topography particularly well, but is there no real option of a realignment?
No.
No. I assume
Submarine.
Not unless you can find a road that floats.
I assumed as much.
Quick shingle slide, isn't it? It keeps going.
So that's positive. We're all on the same page with that one, because we all know we are in one paddock here, it's the West Coast, and we're all trying to look after the one patch where everyone's interested. It doesn't matter what council we're on. And that's the focus of this council anyway. I'm sure that's the same for the others.
I think I'd also just add that the district councils, their early asset management plan work is reflecting that really well as well. Their early work in terms of is really prioritising their resilience.
Right, so maybe I'll just wrap up this conversation with my year's report. Now, challenging times ahead, but we've got to ensure that we need that ministerial connect as one voice, so we can get that factual understanding in Wellington of what the issue is and how we see a way forward to getting a funding solution here, because we cannot afford to lose either. That's it in a nutshell. I'll just close off my little pet project. Don't give up on the Bailey Bridges. Well, I'm not giving up on them. I'm going to do that for my dying day, and especially between Hagertica and Greymouth. That's a vital link for us for recovery, and that goes out. Well, there'll be a lot of coaches and horses going up and down the beaches like they were 150 years ago, because that's the only way we'll get the connection. So I'd like a mover for my report, please. James, second, and Andy, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Righto, and for the next few bits, because Max is over the hill too. We've got the mobility one now, but I'll be reliant on Max here, because he's got his head to the ground and a lot of these issues in the background of us.
Aye.
More so than me and Andy. But feel free, Max, if you want to interrupt or say anything on these issues, because
Did you want me to add to the report, your sort of chair's report on the Monday meeting, or did you want me to jump straight to mobility?
if you feel there's something there that's important to overlook, yeah.
I think the only thing that is probably worth noting beyond the obvious fuel crisis is, for a start, is giving NCTA a shout out, as the Coal Creek Bridge will be future proofed.
I'll do that over there.
It's a huge win. So I believe it'll have shoulders. Am I correct in saying it'll have shoulders, and it will also have the ability to have the clip-ons in the future as well?
It will have the ability for clip-ons in the future. It's
Yeah.
not funded for clip-ons now because of the nature of the program that's funding it, but it will have, I'm going to get the number wrong, so I'm not going to name a number. It will have wider shoulders than now. I mean, now it functionally has no shoulders.
Yeah.
I just literally cannot remember whether 1.1 or 1.7 meter shoulders. Forgive me, so I'm not going to name a number, but it will have.
It's more than a few inches.
It will have substantially more greater shoulders than the existing version.
Yeah.
And yes, it is constructed so that it can have clip-ons later. We just simply cannot pay for those out of the existing project. So
But in the current environment, that is an absolutely massive.
That's
thing,
great.
And I think it deserves being shouted out.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing would be, it's easy to forget while we're down here, the ferry replacements. But there's no confirmation yet that they'll be run by Kiwi Rail and their delivery dates as well. So that's a bit of a question mark. Although it feels quite far away, I think it's always worth remembering in terms of North Island connectivity. And then the only other thing is which we covered briefly in the council meeting the other day, was the Westport flights. At the minute they're stopping. So we're only going to have one working airport now. And I think that's a bit of a concern, but it's a little bit outside of our realm of influence, but I do think it's really worth noting.
No, I'm just on the Cold Creek one. Okay.
Sure, yeah, all the time, yeah.
Is it more than just the bridge per se? Because I noticed going up, there's a wider subsidence there, just about to the crest of the hill. You can see the.
No, I don't know. I can check because it is.
It might be part of
It
the
is,
fix,
it might be part of the fix. I'll go and ask.
You think about.
Yep.
30-40 metres
Yep.
beyond the bridge,
Yep.
just questioning the scope of the work, that's all. Well, Max, is total mobility.
Cool. So total mobility. So we're seeking your approval to first receive the report, and second of all to approve the new total fare cap of $27. There's a reduction down from the current cap of $30. So this is in line with the NZTA guidance, based on the way that we've there's further details available in the reports, but long story short, total mobility is paid for by 4 separate providers. You've got the user, NZTA, council by rates, and by central government funding, which we call SIR for Community Connect. So that provided an additional top up. It started in 2022. Now the problem with it was a huge success, but the problem is the uptake. Even though as a council we're paying less per trip, there's been such an increase in the amount of trips taken because of the cost has dropped so much at the end point for the user that councils across the country are now struggling with their budgets because they weren't able to account for it. And as councils also have no ability to limit the usage of it. So we could have, say we had 5,000 total mobility clients move in for the region tomorrow. We would have, we would simply process their applications, and then we'd have to try to figure out the funding at the other end. That's a bit of an extreme example, but you see what I mean? It's not like we can stop, say, oh, we're going to put on less bus services or We have absolutely no control over how much use it currently gets. That isn't to say that it isn't an absolutely brilliant service. It is, and it caters for really high need people. And it's, especially with the lack of public transport, it's the only final connection we've got, really. So this cut is has come down from central government, and effectively it will preserve. They're going to redeploy the central government funding to help councils top their budgets up, but that's effectively contingent on us reducing our fare cap by 10%.
Yeah, when I seen this, I was so disappointed because we done so much good work to get more people to use it. We done that, and we're actually getting penalised for the success of the program. Government, again, because there's less funding, there's a decreased level of service. If we, it's, I just can't get your head around their logic, because to me it doesn't make sense.
And that's just, and I just want to say thank you. Just reminded me, Kai deserves the vast majority of the credit for both this report and for the total mobility work in general.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the absolute expert on it. So she's done a huge amount of work. But yes, sorry, I don't mean to sidetrack you.
But I just open it up for discussion because it's just another thing. We have no transport here, and this is one of the public transport. This is one of the ways we can help those who are least able to help themselves. And it's been such a success, we're getting penalised for it effectively, and that's wrong.
Through the chair, I just wondered how the taxis got paid for it.
In terms of the systems.
Yes, the system.
So gets a bit convoluted. So the user goes, they call the taxi company, they get picked up, they use their swipe card, which we've had for about the last 6 months. Then that gets sent through to Kaya, who then processes it. We pay for that bill, and then we claim. So the user pays a certain amount, we pay the rest, and then we claim from NZTA, the central government funding, and then the NZTA funding, and the LTP funding, which is our council funding.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes back in. So it all sort of levels out.
I was asking because the criticism I had, I wondered if it was because the taxi driver never got paid pretty quickly. And he sort of frowned upon down there straight away or whatever. It's not cash or whatever. I'm just wondering how, I don't know how it works.
So you can still pay clients.
So yes, it does take a little bit longer for taxi companies to be paid, but the taxi companies also have accounts of people who aren't on total mobility, so they're not getting paid straight away either.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, but it still works out that they still get paid the same amount.
I just wondered where it was coming from, the criticism. I was just
Fair enough.
checking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair enough. As the regional council, we're in a little bit of a difficult position, and NZTAs too, in the sense of total mobility it's an absolute success, and on the coast it's our only public division. But on the other hand, the 2022 increase in subsidy had so much. It was so much more successful than anyone ever expected it to be. Now that's brilliant, but we're in this funny catch-22 where we're both supporting all of these vulnerable people, but also we have no control over the budget behind it, and we have to try balance that. So I can see where this central government thing has come from. But
As Pete said, not having public transport, you think they take that into account. You know what I mean? It's what makes us a bit different, isn't it?
Because one thing that I noticed in Christchurch, we had the comment, and it was the advice really, if we have a budget to from central government or a funding thing, is spend it 100%. If you don't spend it 100%, you won't get that next year, and it will just go backwards and backwards and backwards. So all councils, please spend it.
I wanted to add something as well.
So the reason ours is 10% is we don't have public transport, other councils are having to do it.
So,
Yeah, the 10% was the last.
That's
that's what we rolled with.
Be a minimum.
It's not a nice position to be in.
no,
It seems a bit mean,
Possibly, so,
but I guess there's too big a gift horse in 2022.
So any other questions on that subject?
I'd just like to add it as well. This is more of a side note, not to do with this. Is I'd like to talk separately with all the district council, particularly the ops guys like Carl and Paddy, about total mobility parking as well. We've had one or two concerns raised about whether they can or can't use disability cards. So for their usually disabled customers. So it's a bit of an offline discussion. I've already talked to Paddy briefly about it, but I don't know.
we're out for public submission at the moment.
Yeah.
All this public parks and
Yeah, that's brilliant.
yeah.
But they just wanted to be sure. But this is a bit of an offline discussion that's not quite related to that.
Yeah.
The $700 fine, I think you might have a good discussion. mate.
If they're genuine and they've got a total mobility card.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna pursue any.
No, I don't doubt it, but they have some concerns, and I just wanted to. It's not quite related to the fare cap, but it was just.
I think the biggest concern is people pitching their cars.
What's that?
People illegally parking on the,
Does happen, I've seen it
Yeah.
just the other day, I just said,
that's the biggest problem. It's not that people not having a park, it's just they can't get in it.
just about crying out for the meter joke, I can't.
That's right.
And one other thing, which just also related, this is more related to the funding side of things, is we're with the fuel crisis and with the cost of fuel, some of the taxi companies are starting to add on additional surcharges. So we are starting to see our budgets, whereas this would have probably suppressed demand. We're now seeing we're probably going to have less people using the service, and we're probably at the current rate going to be paying more for it as well, thanks to the cost of fuel. So it's kind of a lose. Yeah, but I just wanted to sort of note that as well.
They do use a few hybrid cars.
I can't comment who or I'm just flagging that price will roll on to us as well. So
Well, we had a good go on that one. Moving on. Okay, thank you. Ladies, correct?
we need.
Yep, you just need now, no one's got their hand up. Okay, we have a recommendation there to receive the report and the attachments and approve the new proposed total mobility fare cap of $27. So have a mover for that, please. Well, I'll move it. Second. Andy, Helen, second. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Oh, we've got a Rosalie again.
Oh, Helen put her hand up. I got that.
I think Rosalie voted again. Is that correct, Rosalie?
Anyone against?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I missed all
Anyone in the meeting?
that.
That's 33, please. Matt again. Oh,
That's nice.
Matt, no, next I'll get mixed up. I'll go let you go again.
It's all right. We'll start getting that more and more. So this is more of it's a general update on the regional land transport planning. We're currently in the early stages of stakeholder engagement and development. I've been working closely with the council, they've been absolutely brilliant and providing through all of their information. And I'm happy to talk to the report, really. So we're still in the early days. We're expecting the draft GPS in around August. We've covered special purpose roads. I think one of the things that's really worth noting, and we sort of talked about this very briefly earlier, is the district councils, through their asset management plans, have done a really good job in prioritising resilience. And it sounds like under the current funding settings, there's going to be it's going to be difficult at times to maintain even current levels of service, let alone improve. Is that correct, James? At times.
At the moment, it's crystal ball gazing.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the total amount of money available.
Yeah.
But, my God, just come back to your original. Good work on asset management plans is an excellent start.
Yeah. And so that's it, really. I mean, I'm quite happy to talk to everything, and we've got some printouts as well. And with in terms of asset management plans as well, in a meeting this morning, I heard that there's going to be more integration with the Reg group on pavement wear, and there's some changes potentially to low cost, low risk that it'll be raising to $5 million. So low cost, low risk is a different funding stream which you can use, and it's a little bit easier than running through the other forms. And that'll be raising to $5 million for resilience, $3 million to roading, and $2 million to active modes. So, but it's all very well having it $2 million for active modes, depending on how the GPS classes are set out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we can just receive the report.
Any questions, all good? James?
Yeah, look, the only comment I'd make, because I think it's all good so far, is the repeated comment I made on Monday, or Emma or I made on Monday, which is that, you know, page 35, you've got a date for the draft GPS, and that's sure, great. But as you heard me on Monday, there'll be an election, there'll be a minister of transport post-election, there'll be adjustment GPS made after that.
Yeah.
You won't see a finalised GPS in all likelihood until February, March, April next year. We'll be finalising our LTP through that process too, and then we'll all have to engage in some swift footwork depending on how much of the gap, how much has moved. That's all. It's just prepare yourselves for that dance this time next year, because
New brewery comes in.
well, it might be the same broom, but there'll always be adjustments. You know, there'll always be changes, and so what you thought you were clear on in December, you may not be as clear on in February, and then you just have to adjust your plans accordingly. And you know, it's hard to express at a table, and so it isn't there. But I just keep saying that it needs to be there. You know,
And I think the guidance we got from separately from MBTA, and they've been brilliant walking us through this whole process, is put in your must-haves and then your nice-to-haves, and then you can pick from between them, depending on how. So, and I think that's a really, really good way of visualizing it.
In just to ram the message home, I would define must-haves. Starting with, what does it take to maintain your network? You know, look after what you've got first, and then think about what you need beyond that.
Point taken.
If I can just say, you know, for many, many years, we've been seen as a funding block for everything that's historically gone on. The level of service is something that will have to be surely looked at.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefactors out there that are really benefiting from government investment and local authority investment. And to be fair, they should be the ones that have to use the pay to a large degree. You know, like the farmer that has the bridge to a sort of block, like the long gravel section road to a commercial enterprise. Those sort of things that someone's got to give.
Like you did with Cross.
Yeah, but I think it's going to have to go past that point to whether it says we've done what we can do. And we'll move our signs back, because that's as much as we can do. Because the money's been generated by others. And okay, we had some co-funding to do that, which wouldn't have happened otherwise. But there's not just that one situation. There's many, many of these. You know, a quarry operating in a 40k stretch of inland road. You just can't keep ahead of it because of those big heavy weighted trucks, and they're over 50 tonne. We know that. And there's only one benefiting from it is that there, and maybe someone lives in a bus up the same road. So, as commercial enterprise. So, you know, I think that for many, many years we've all banded the use of pay, and I think it's got to a point now we've got to be very prudent and make some tough decisions. And I know that's not going to go down very well with everybody, but I think at the end of the day, we've got to look at our core functionality, etc., and make cuts or reduction in levels of service. No one's going to say about pulling the panel together, but we're just going to have to review the whole thing and the cost of doing business, you know.
You're echoing the message we got on Monday in Christchurch.
Oh, okay.
That's
It's got to be sensible, you know. Otherwise, you know, our core is going to fall apart, you know. That's all I had to say on that.
Things are pretty unpredictable too at the moment. So
Yep, absolutely.
anything could happen, and
Right, and we've been very fortunate, put it there, and we received a little bit of resilience funding on top of our budgets, and that's been a godsend really, because we can make some well-needed changes right now. You know, that will save us money in the long term by just adding to that resilience of that particular piece of the road that we could had to go ahead to spend the money on. So
I just echo what I said before Monday. You know, governments, you know, it's not going to have the capacity to spend like they have for parts of the past in the last 10 years.
absolutely.
We've had a pretty good run lately for fair weather.
Yep, no, we have. We're very.
Everyone else has gotten it, but our day will come.
But hey, it will come. Just here's hope.
Has the government put the budget aside for climate events or anything?
I think even that's sort of,
I think that they've indicated that's going to be reducing too. I
That's
think.
because I had a 1.2 billion or something that they've worked. It's been reduced, is it?
I think from memory, but don't quote me on that.
well, the taking money off total mobility, I think everyone's going, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we've had some good conversations amongst the councils, regional councils regarding proof of weather patterns and events and stuff like that. I think we've been undertold. These guys are supporting that completely on their own. For us to be able to prove the fact that we've had that volume, this is our bugbear really. We know it is, and these guys know it is too, but they can't say, hey, we know it is. So we need to be able to accurately record going forward that we say, hey, we did hit that level, and this is why. It's not just because the hill's fallen apart. We know we hit these levels. So it's a matter of, again, with that resilience, is making sure we can actually capture what's going on across our region.
And we've already talked a little bit about building connections between the DCs and our science teams.
Yep.
So they can start giving the data.
that's actually a really important point, because if you can't prove
No.
that you've
Yep.
seen those levels,
Yep.
then you can't claim the money for us.
Can't claim the money.
We're left going.
They can't help. They want to help, but they can't help. You know.
Yep.
So,
Really important.
Facts are better than
Oh, absolutely. They're essential.
Okay, we have received the report here, please. We have a mover, please, to receive the report. James, seconder. Good, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
All right, against? Carried.
I just want to shout out the team again, and particularly Kaya, for helping get this whole thing together. No, it doesn't look like much in a couple of reports. It's actually a huge amount of work behind the scenes.
Right, well, we're at the end
And
of
the
that.
accountants too.
So next year, you've led that charge for us and we really appreciate your time and input, it's most valuable, so thank you.
No, I was going to, we don't normally have general business according to those upon high, but I'm going to allow that in this particular case, given the Wellington thing. And I'd just like to send that thanks to the staff, because it's a thankless job a lot of time to get criticised, and so do elected members, we all know that. A lot of people got to try and make the best we can with the cloth that we've got, and covered accordingly. And just give the opportunity, anyone here has got any comments they want to say them, and, you know, wherever holds the peace, that word.
I'd like to say one thing, Peter, that don't get me wrong, but everyone's told the free speech and criticism of councillors. You've done it in the paper. You signed it off as chairman of this committee, and I think that's not quite right. There's a letter to the editor about the Three Waters.
I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah, I don't care what you say, but I don't think you should use this committee's title under your name.
Well, Alan, just for your information, a lot of times I send the letter as myself,
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
and the editor decides to put it on. I'll
Well,
challenge them sometimes.
I'd like to find out because, everyone's entitled to free speech.
Oh, you've had it. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll continue doing what I do.
I'm not trying to stop you. It was only that, I thought the committee would have to approve if you're gonna use that title to come up with criticisms about local water done well, which is a separate thing to what we.
Any other questions, please?
I'd just like to say thanks to James for
Thanks, Max. Look, I just wanted to mention one thing, and it sounds like I'm blowing our trumpet, but you know, hey, I had the pleasure. It's a hell of a long way away from here, but it's still in the region. I had the pleasure of driving through Gates Hast about 3 weeks ago. And for those of you who haven't been down there recently, because it's a long way away, we are doing a really brilliant little piece of work in Gates Hast. It's a $5 million project. It's underpinning the bridge. It's a micropile wall going in basically to stabilise the landslip on the north side of the bridge to protect the bridge and the approaches. It is a really, really good example of those small resilience projects. You know, it's $5 million. It's in the scheme of the big resilience project.
There's been some very good photos of it.
And it's well, to be taken on site to be shown the true scale of the works is it's
Very impressive.
as long as you can put up with the sandflies.
I should have asked before, what about
it's
Knight's Point? Is that
impressive.
the epitaph?
Well, so we went through 9.2 and I'm happy to come and bring a more detailed presentation to the committee on 9 Point when that is appropriate. We will, to be clear, we will be bidding for funding in the next round for the major works on the epitaph slip. Helen's nodding. Helen desperately wants it. I know she does.
Yeah.
I've been there a number of times. It's a scary sight.
Yeah, it's scary for a very long time.
Yeah, it is. So it's quite, but that's what I mean. That is a different scale project.
Okay.
You know, that is going to be a very expensive project in the scale of things compared to Gates Hast. But with little bits of money for resilience work, we can achieve so much in parts of the network. That's a really great project. It's a long way away, but if you get a chance to go down to Gates Hast, that's what we're looking at too.
Because one thing, James, like people will identify a weak spot and it doesn't seem to get acted on.
Let me just say we got a lot of weak spots. You're welcome, as Peter does, to keep sending them to me and I'll acknowledge whether they're on our list or not.
But it is disappointing when the road goes out and somebody says, well, I told them about that, or else I knew that was going to go.
Oh yeah, but we are only able to fight at the very top of that list. Yeah.
All good?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Wayne Costello had previously represented DOC at this forum. We'd had a bit of a chat and thought I might be better placed. So my role in DOC is Regional Planning and Performance Manager. I sit alongside our 4 district ops managers, report into Owen, Regional Director. Yeah, so I've got a bit more of a regional view. And yeah, not everything on the agenda is always going to be relevant to us, but there'll be some stuff that is to be joined up in all these discussions. So
Nice point, will be.
Some time ago,
So
some time ago, we thought it was a little bit odd that given Doc's interest in the post and the roads that you have to the glaciers and other roads, like you should be part of this committee. That's why you made that invitation.
yeah, so I'm gonna represent DOC going forward.
Welcome aboard.
You're better off to pick people up at the bus stop, right?
Right, so that's it, gentlemen, ladies. All good. Thanks for your attendance and thank you, James, for coming over. Nothing like being in person. All good. Thank you. 3:20.
My apologies for not being there in person today,